Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to talk today about Ben Kuroki. He was a Nisei soldier in World War II. And Ben Kuroki was in the U.S. Army Air Corps. And he was not interned at a Japanese American internment camp, or some people call them concentration camps. He didn't do that. That didn't happen to him because he was from Nebraska. He was not from the West Coast. His parents were born in Japan, and they saw some farmland in Nebraska, and it was fertile land to farm, and his parents decided to farm it. And when December 7th, 1941 happened, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Ben Kuroki went to his parents, and his brother Fred did too. They went to their parents and they said, "What should we do?" And their father said, "America is your country. You were born here. You need to fight for it." So they went to a U.S. Army recruiting station, but the U.S. Army turned them down on racial grounds. This was before the 442nd Battalion Combat Team was formed. They were turned down basically because of racism. So what they did was they drove about 30 minutes to an hour away from the Army recruiting station. They drove to an Army Air Corps recruiting station. And back then the Army, it wasn't the Air Force, it was the Army Air Corps, which was a kind of like the way the Marine Corps is with the Navy, a separate branch, but within the Department of the Navy. That's kind of how the Army Air Corps was. Well, so the Army Air Corps accepted them. They accepted Ben and the brother Fred. And Ben made it through Army Air Corps basic training and made it in the Army Air Corps. But his brother Fred Kuroki, was kicked out of the Army Air Corps due to racism, transferred back to the U.S. Army, but was on a trench digging outfit. That's basically all that was. But Ben Kuroki, that didn't happen to him. Okay, Ben Kuroki had extra duty. He had a lot of extra work, and he was getting the shaft, but he said, "I dare not complain." So he was able to become a gunner on a B-17, not B-17, B-24 bomber. He was able to be a gunner on a B-24 bomber over Europe. And the average surviving rate for a gunner on a B-24 bomber is 10 missions. Ben made it to 26. And one of the more prominent, well-known missions that he did was he bombed his plane helped bomb some key oil fields in Romania. Romania was an Axis country during World War II. And those were some key enemy oil fields. And Ben Kuroki said the flight was terrifying. It was the combat missions were terrifying, but he made it through. But he said, strangely, he received peace there. He received peace because that was the first time he was not discriminated against. He was not judged by the skin of his color, that the people in the B-24 plane accepted him. Nobody questioned his loyalty. Nobody thought that he was disloyal to America. They didn't think he was a secret Japanese agent or anything like that. They accepted him as an American. So he really loved and cared for and respected the people that were aboard the B-24 airplane. And this is in Ben Kuroki's own words. And then after his 26th mission, he came back to the United States and went to the internment camps on the West Coast and encouraged people to enlist in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And while he didn't regret doing that necessarily, and he was glad to serve his country in that capacity, he had his heart kind of dropped when that happened, because he knew some of those guys that he convinced to enlist didn't make it back. And so Ben Kuroki still felt that there was more loyalty he needed to prove to America, so he wanted to go fight against Japan. But at that time, Japanese Americans fighting against Japan in a combat role were fairly limited. But Ben Kuroki appealed to the Secretary of War, Henry Stimson, and Henry Stimson gave him an exception and said, "You can be a gunner on a B-29 plane that bombed Japan." And Ben Kuroki participated willingly in a B-29 plane bombing Japan, and he flew 35 missions over Japan. He flew in a B-29, and he participated in 35 bombing missions over Japan. And Ben's grandparents still lived there, his aunt, uncle, and cousins, but America was Ben's country, and Ben wanted to fight for America. And he basically said, "I had to fight like hell for the right to fight for my own country." And he was fiercely patriotic, but after World War II ended, he went and spoke out against racial discrimination and racism because he didn't feel like it was acceptable to be that way, but he didn't regret enlisting in the Army Air Corps. He respected the guys that he flew with in the B-29. His B-29 crews accepted him. He was glad that Henry Simpson granted him an exception so he could go fight against Japan to prove his loyalty to the United States. So that his rank was tech sergeant. He was a tech sergeant in the Army Air Corps, and this is Ben Kuroki's words, that Ben Kuroki was not anti-white, because while he was severely discriminated against in a lot of cases, the guys that he fought with accepted him as an equal, in his own words. And they called him Sad Saki, and that was out of respect. It was out of respect because of his determination, his bravery, his courage, and his guts. So God bless Ben Kuroki for all that he did. So he has now the nickname Most Honorable Son. So hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless, and bye-bye. Bye-bye.